Hey, Trails Collective, Ian here for the weekly rundown of what's shaking in the Northeast trail running world for the week ending April 16th, 2021. Hopefully this finds you all doing well. I'm pretty stoked tonight, or for this week, that I have a number of voices in. And so this is really the hope, is to bring together the regional trail running community and really bring in multiple voices from whether they be RDs or event directors or trail maintenance entities or whatever it may be that's trail related. So this week I have a good number that came in from results from this past weekend. So I will dig right in. We'll give you a rundown of a few things that I took note of on some of the social media boards. We will give you a quick rundown of events registrations about to open so you can get on them. Some, I don't know if any of these are going to sell out immediately, but for you to be aware of, as well as some of the events that are on deck this weekend. And then we'll get into some FKTs, and we've got a couple voices in the FKT section, as well as results and multiple voices from results from this past week. All right, so here we go. On the social media boards, a couple that I caught on the Virginia Happy Trails site, there was a article linking to a new plan unveiled for a 50-mile trail to be built along the former Shenandoah Railway. Looks like it'd be a pretty sweet and amazing resource there for the Virginia crew. In Maryland, 3 individuals, John Gowan, Sam Gutner, and Patrick Blair, are planning on setting off for a new FKT in the form of a 100K traverse of the Patapsco Valley State Park this Saturday. For those who haven't been down and run in Patapsco State Park, I just had the opportunity to run the 50K there last fall, and it's a pretty sweet state park and resource outside of Baltimore, with some trails that feel pretty, or areas that feel fairly remote for being that close to a metro area. So definitely a wonderful resources that they're hoping to highlight and raise awareness for in the FKT, as well as raise funds for the Kupenda for the Children organization out of Kenya. And we'll have the link plugged in the show notes if anybody wants to check in on that and make a donation to that entity. This Thursday, April 15th at 8 p.m., I'll go live for the TC Live interview series. And I'm pretty stoked to be connecting with Zach Miller. Zach Miller, one of the hardest working, hardest running, most competitive, amazing trail runners out of our region. And we'll also be joined this week with one of his good friends and one of my teammates and friends, Matt Lipsy. So for sure, tune in with us this Thursday evening, the 15th at 8 p.m. It'll stream live to the Facebook and YouTube channels. All right, upcoming races and registrations opening. So races running this weekend: the Chappawampsick, 50K, 100K in Triangle, Virginia. The MCW Runners Paradise Run in Morristown, New Jersey, which is a 10-miler. English's Ridge Rumble, 10-mile, 20-mile, 50K in Fayetteville, New York. The Enchanted Forest Ultra in Stratford, Connecticut, a 6-hour. And the Classic Trap Rock 17K, 50K in Connecticut. Good luck to all of you and entrants and RDs for this weekend. And then for race registrations opening this week ahead. On April 15th, the Berks Notchview Ultra, the Groton Forest Trail Runs, and the Allegheny Front Trail Race. The latter opening on April 19th. All right, so let's get in on the FKTs. And I'm going to start here with a clip from a friend, Ashley. And this wasn't an FKT, though I didn't check it, but I don't think it was an FKT necessarily attempt or mark. More just setting off on a beautiful route in the Adirondacks. And it's good to just hear about some of these beautiful routes and experiences. So Ashley, cue us into the Saranac 6.
Hey, Ashley and Pepper here. I just wanted to chat with you about our adventures in the Adirondacks a little bit. So we started going up and backpacking in the Adirondacks a few years ago. Last year we finished the 46ers together, which is the highest 46 peaks in the Adirondacks, and maybe also New York. I'm not sure about that one. This weekend I was craving some of those same mountain views. However, the DEC was recommending that you stay out of the high peaks area due to erosion and mud season. So we set our eyes on something a little bit different. We decided to do the Saranac Sixers, which is the highest 6 peaks around Saranac Lake. I had originally thought that I was going to be doing this over 2 days until it was encouraged that I do it in 1 day, 24 hours for the Saranac Ultra Sixers. We started our morning off by starting in the green, which you have to for the Ultra Sixers, which is right in downtown Saranac Lake. After that, we headed to our first mountain, which was Mount Ampersand, which we caught sunrise on, which was a really lovely morning. The peak wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be, probably because it was my first one. After that, we headed over to Haystack and Mackenzie. We took a little bit of an alternate route for Haystack and Mackenzie off the Jackrabbit Trail, which is supposed to cut out some distance, which a lot of the Ultra Sixers do, in an effort to save some time. The first one that we did was Haystack, and it was a breeze up, down, didn't have any issue finding the unmarked trail, and it was super easy to follow. Would highly recommend that route for anyone trying to do the Ultra Sixers. After we hit up Haystack, we went over to Mackenzie, which was actually a more difficult climb than I had anticipated. I thought that it would be a bit more like Ampersand, but the elevation was a bit higher, and with the mud there was a lot more erosion, so that one took a bit longer than I thought. In an effort to avoid some of the snow and ice that was on the top, I headed over Mount Mackenzie and went down a trail on the backside, which was an even worse idea. For the first mile down the backside of Mackenzie, I post-holed some. There was a lot of blowdowns, and the trail was a bit difficult to follow. Also took us around a longer route where we intersected with Lake Placid, which was actually fun to see. Pepper also enjoys swimming, so that was a good time to cool off. Also probably did not bring enough food with me on this one. That one took longer than anticipated. I got back to the car, had some food. We enjoyed a peanut butter and jelly each because Pepper gets her own food. Then headed over to Scarface. Scarface, we started maybe around like 1:30 or 2. It was right in the high heat of the afternoon. An unseasonably warm day, which was above 72 degrees. That kind of heat sort of zapped my energy in the beginning of climbing up Scarface. But after we got around the backside of the mountain, it was a bit cooler because we got a breeze. That one took us around, I think, 2.5 to 3 hours due to the heat. And then it started to cool off in the evening. This was maybe around like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Whenever I got down off of that one and realized that it was actually capable of doing the Ultra Sixer, because I only had 2 peaks left at this time. The last 2 I had were St. Regis and also Baker Mountain. St. Regis is a little bit of a drive, so you also have to calculate your drive time into the trailheads, into it. That one took about a half hour to drive to, which was a welcomed break and some AC where we ate an avocado and had some bagel chips. St. Regis was an easier climb than the rest of them. I sort of planned the route to have the hardest climb and the longer distances in the beginning, so it was front loaded. Got to the top of St. Regis right probably 45 minutes before sunset. So got some nice views up there to hang out, eat some crackers, and then proceed to get to the car right before dark. The last one was Baker Mountain. This one I had everything GPS marked on my phone in the map section with all the trailhead locations to make it easier so I didn't have to search anything. However, getting to the GPS location, I found parking difficult to find. There are no parking signs on the road all over the place. However, there is a sandy area, so I read the sign that said no parking, assumed it was no parking on the road, and you can park in the sandy area. I called the police department too to try and figure out to make sure I didn't get towed, because that was where I was sleeping that night as well. Making sure that I didn't get towed was important for me to get down off the mountain as well. They assured me that the sandy area, as long as both tires are off the road, is an okay area. Ended up parking there, getting my final peak, Mountain Baker, which is less than a 2-mile climb in under an hour, and then headed back to town center and by the lake, and was able to ring the bell. Ringing the bell is the final sign, ding, 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 that you have completed your Sixers. So it was really exciting to be able to have some mountain adventures this early in the season, and trying to help with the trails as well too, so I don't have as much of an environmental impact on them. The Sixers was definitely a great challenge. Highly recommend it for anyone who's looking for some mountain views. Ampersand and St. Regis definitely had the best views for me. Could have also been the time of day that I was hitting it at, but they were also clear view mountains, clear views of the mountain with no tree cover, so that was lovely. Get out there and adventure more. Hope to see you in the Adirondacks.
All right, getting into the FKT marks. In Connecticut, Justin Kowski, 1 hour 45 minutes, and Sarah Connor, 2 hours and 15 minutes, day apart for the Saugatuck, a 12-mile loop around the Saugatuck Reservoir. Justin's new mark undercuts Ben Nephew's time from December by 7 minutes, and he held it before Ben lowered it last year. And Sarah's is the first women's unsupported mark for that route. Debbie and Scott Livingston clearly out for another date outing, this time leaving a new 2 hour 47-minute mixed gender team mark on the Metacomet Timberland Loop. And Michael Lepresti, 3 hours 14 minutes for the Tri-State Tri-Mountain Loop through New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, lowering his own time as the only marksman so far on that route. In Massachusetts, Nick Poles, 4 hours 19 minutes for the Burroughs Loop. In Maryland, Chris Vaudo and Elise Garton, 1 hour 56 minutes for the Billy Goat C&O Loop. In New Jersey, Matt Michella, 1 hour 49 minutes for the Stonetown Circular. This is a beautiful route that I, in part, use for one of my races, the Iron Mines 50K and 25K, which I'm hoping to restage again in 2022. So keep your eye out for that. But it is a beautiful route in the Hill and Lake section of North Jersey, and Matt shaved off a slim 54 seconds from the prior mark set in 2020. Nice work, Matt. In New York, Patrick Hallahan, 1 hour 6 minutes for the Highlands Forest M Loop. Ben LeBlanc, 3 hours 13 minutes for the Tupper Lake Triad. It's a 15-mile three-peak circuit in the Adirondacks, a route first set by Kelly McDonald this past October. In Rhode Island, and it's good to see some trail marks on the board in Rhode Island. Emily Tessier and Nate Cressman, 2 hours 6 minutes on the Arcadia Trail. It's a pretty nice sounding 13.5 miles with a bit of technicality in the mix. And their mark shaved 8 minutes from the prior mark just set a month ago. And then I am the last one on the FKT section here. Pat Heine in PA, one that I followed along and posted on last week, set a new time of 5 days, 23 hours and some odd minutes on the Mid-State Trail, lowering Eric Kozek's mark of... And Eric Kozek, if all of you haven't checked it out yet, check out the Idiot Runner. He's really trying to build that community and page, so take a minute and check out or look up the Idiot Runner with Eric and Becky Kozek. But Pat lowered Eric's mark of 6 days, 6 hours from 2020. And the Mid-State is a 327-ish mile long beast, referred to as the wildest in PA. And Pat gets into that a little bit here in a clip. It crosses the Appalachian and Alleghenies from roughly the Maryland to New York borders. So thanks to Pat. I'm sure you're still recovering and exhausted and trying to catch up on things. But we did check in with Pat, and he followed up with a clip on that beast of a route and effort, which was really quite amazing. So Pat, cue us into the Mid-State new FKT now.
Hey, Pat Heine here. I just set the FKT on the Mid-State Trail through Pennsylvania. It's 527 kilometer metric trail, so the miles don't matter. It's all kilometers, which made it a really interesting experience. And it has about 50,000 feet of elevation gain. So it really doesn't let up, and it goes from the side of the road at the Maryland-Pennsylvania border to the side of the road, the Pennsylvania-New York border. And it gives you a little bit of everything. It goes through some private land, state forests, and a Pine Creek Canyon, which hosts the Eastern States 100. And that whole time you're going up ridges, down the sides of the mountain, rocks, crossing rivers, day, night, kind of had to move at all hours to get the thing done. The trail is known as one of the most wild trails in Pennsylvania, and it definitely lives in the shadow of the Appalachian Trail that everyone talks about, but it's certainly no easier. It might actually be harder. The whole time we were out there, with the exception of a few rail trail sections, I didn't see anyone on the trail. And I saw about 10 porcupines, so the fact that I saw more of those guys in the middle of the night than I saw people during the entire run has a lot to say about, how remote and how out there this trail really is. I couldn't have asked for a better week of weather. When Eric Kosick set the first FKT, he did it in the middle of July, and that sounded absolutely horrible. So I looked at the calendar and picked April because I was hoping that winter was going to keep the briars and everything else down. Luckily they did, kept the temperatures down. I had a great start. It's about 28 degrees, and by the end of the week, the highest it got was about the mid-70s. Still felt a little warm under the full sun, but once the sun went down, the nights were really nice. My crew was also pretty much perfect. I had Alex Papadopoulos, RD of Tammany 10 and an OSS CIA 50 miler down in Virginia. Good friend Rick Moyer, he's always down at Massanutten. He's pretty much the best crew person you could ask for. And then Chris Rush was the third musketeer on my core team. He's local to the Mid-State Trail, and couldn't have asked for a better crew. In terms of pacers, Eddie Pantoja came out and ran 169 miles of the whole trail with me. Madman. Some other folks joined in for some other shorter miles. Eric Kosick came out towards the end near his home in Wellsboro. It was awesome seeing him and kind of talking about our experiences on the trail, even though I still had to finish mine. And my good friend and training partner Jim Blandford came up and surprised me at the finish. And I really have to thank Chris Young for the much needed shower at the end of those 6 days. So I finished in 5 days, 23 hours, 40 minutes and 43 seconds, but I know someone can do it faster, so I can't wait to see for them to take it on. In terms of what I have, 2020, I'm just going to hang out and, get back into running, not hurt myself, and pay some friends at Eastern States, maybe hang out at some other races, and then get training again. Plan on running Massanutten 2021 and maybe heading overseas to take on another monster at the Swiss Peaks 360.
So congrats again, Pat. That is pretty awesome. And I just connected with him. He mentioned at the end on the Swiss, I think, 360 route, which looks absolutely phenomenal. I'm really hoping to get up there for a multi-day hut-to-hut circuit in the Alps at some point. So I'll have to follow along and live vicariously through his effort if that does happen in the near future. All right, results from this past weekend. And most of them I got clips back in from. Rattling Creek Run, I was not able to check in, but it did run. It was a 10K, 25K, 50K in Halifax, PA. Another one down in PA was the Dirty Kiln, put on by the Allegheny Trail Runners in PA as well. And I was able to check in and get clips back from both women, the half marathon women's winner, Anna Balouris, and 10K winner, Brittany Gentry. So Anna and Brittany, cue us into the Dirty Kiln.
Hi, my name's Anna Balouris. I'm here to recap the 2021 Dirty Kiln Trail Races in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania at Canoe Creek State Park. I was the women's winner this year and fourth overall. So the Dirty Kiln race is a really fun race, and it's very special to me, actually. I used to be a big part of Allegheny Trail Runners. I used to live in Hollidaysburg, and so I've run hundreds of miles on those trails. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania now, so it was really fun to go back and see a lot of my old running friends and just compete there again. And I'm just grateful to be competing again after a year of uncertainty. So I did the half marathon. There's also a 10K course. It was a really good conditions, 50s, 60s. The trail was actually not as muddy as it usually is. Typically, it's a very muddy event. It was still muddy, but not quite as muddy as it usually is. So it was very runnable, which is nice. The course isn't super technical, which is good for a runner like me. I come from a background of college running, a lot of road racing, and so really love trail running. So when they're a little less technical, more runnable, that works to my advantage. However, it's still very difficult. Lots of climbing, lots of ascents and descents. So the course basically goes out and you climb a big hill and then you go around an entire lake, which is really beautiful. And then the half course veers off and does about 4 to 5 miles of a lot of climbing and descending, which is really tough in the middle of the race. And then you finish around the lake again. There are 4 stream crossings, which is kind of fun. Ben Mazer, the race director, always likes to throw in some extra surprises. At the top of one really big hill, there was a man in a Sassquad costume that jumped out. I definitely gave me a little bit of a scare. The race went down for me pretty well. I was basically in the lead from the start, and I was with a few men, but they broke off about a mile in, and so I was by myself. I didn't really see anyone from a mile to the rest of the course, which is fine. I enjoy competing against myself. Lots of great crowd support. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, and so I thought it was marked extremely well. That's something I really appreciate. Allegheny trail runners always do a really good job of marking their courses because I tend to get lost. I've gotten lost several times in races where I've cut courses short or gone too far. I've never had that issue with any of their races, so it was really well marked. I never felt like I was lost at all at any point in time. So yeah, it was just a really enjoyable event. They have great food after. I got this really cool hammer as the award instead of a typical medal, and so it actually says Dirty Kiln 2021 first place, and it's hand engraved, so I will definitely keep that as a nice keepsake. As far as me, what I have coming up, this was kind of my first race of the season. Half marathon's probably my strongest distance, but I'm trying to kind of get myself into going for the longer stuff. So I'm actually doing the Glacier Ridge 50 miler at Moraine State Park outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on May 15th, and then I'm doing the Lower Highlands 50K in June. So I'm really looking forward to that, and then hopefully this fall doing some kind of road marathon again. And Allegheny Trail Runners also puts on Rocking the Knob, which is a really fun, very technical event. So I might do that in September. But yeah, it was overall a really great event, and I am just grateful for the opportunity to be competing again. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Brittany, and Ian asked me to do a race recap of Dirty Kiln 10K from this past weekend. First of all, I just want to thank Ben and all of the Allegheny Trail Runners for putting on such a phenomenal event. All of their events are great. If you haven't run one of the Trail Runners events, the Dirty Kiln, Trail Fest, or Rockin' the Knob, you really have to think about putting one on your schedule for this year because they are the best events around and their swag bags are always awesome. So thanks guys for another awesome event, and the volunteers are always great too. Everyone is just so supportive and encouraging the whole time, so I really recommend any of their events. But back to the race. Race day, weather was actually perfect for once. Usually Dirty Kiln, we're looking at like some snow and some high creek crossings. This year it was like mid to upper 50s I think, and overcast, which is like my favorite running weather. So the race day started off good because we had great weather. We had a little bit of rain earlier in the week, which made the course like just enough muddy that it was fun and kind of sloppy, but not of the like enough for the shoe sucking mud, which Dirty Kiln is kind of known for. So that was really nice because that let me get like a good rhythm going. So yeah, like I said, I mean, it was just a fun slop. The creek crossings this year were also a nice shallow depth for my short stature. I'm only about 5'2", so there's been some years where I feel like I'm literally just gonna like wash away with the creek crossings at Canoe Creek. So I was very grateful for some shallow water this year, and like I said, with it being a little bit warmer, it was nice because the water was actually refreshing instead of like dreading that I have to cross the creek because I'm gonna freeze afterwards. They actually also changed the course this year a little bit. So Dirty Kiln used to be the 5.5 mile course and the half marathon. I have always run the half marathon before, but this year I decided to do the shorter course. So they changed it to be a true 10K this year. The extra section is mostly like in the beginning of the course or of the race. which I really liked. It's just gentle rolling, like grassy horse trail. But it was really great because it gave you a good warm-up before Morris Hill, which is like the switchback climbs, really the only hill in the 10K. There's some gentle like rolling stuff on the other side of the lake, but yeah, the only real climb or vert is in Morris Hill. It also is nice because it lets you kind of spread out a little bit before the trail kind of bottlenecks at the bottom of Morris Hill. So it's kind of, frustrating in the past. You get stuck behind, runners that you want to pass, but you can't get around in a single track. So it was really nice to, be able to set your own pace early on and then just kind of stick with it. So really nice that you guys added that. So yeah, overall, course was great. Conditions were great. And this was a big race for me because this was my first race back postpartum after having my daughter 9 months ago. So I was kind of nervous. My goal was to just kind of run hard, see what happens. I wanted to feel like when I crossed the finish line that I ran the best that I could. So I went out hard, and with that extra section, it was nice because I, got to set my pace. Started, feeling like I was in a good rhythm. Mind and body were all in sync. Weather was perfect. So I just kept kind of pushing. So it was ended up being a great day for me, and I got the first place female for the 10K. So I was really happy with that, working full-time as a physical therapist, being a full-time mom, and wife. It was proved to be challenging, but, it was definitely worthwhile to get that win and have my daughter there. My husband ran the 10K as well. But yeah, so, early mornings and pushing a stroller up the hills in my neighborhood have definitely proved to be good resistance training. As far as the rest of my year for running, I'm running Laurel Highlands 50K in June. I'm currently on the wait list for Rim to River 100 in November. I'm debating, how much I want to run 100 in fall. So if I don't get off of the wait list, which is kind of unlikely, I'm like 97 on the wait list or something. I'm thinking about, I've been looking at like Mountaineer Rumble in South Carolina. But kind of waiting to see how Laurel Highlands goes first. I'm still getting into the routine of, training with bigger mileage while working and, doing the mom and wife thing. But yeah, also probably going to do Trail Fest and Rock of the Knob, like I said, because they are just my favorite events around. I'm not sure on distance or time for either of those yet. I don't know how much I want to torture myself. Thanks, Ben. But yeah, so thanks for listening to me ramble here. So happy running, everybody.
All right, and then one that was run in as a 2-day format to accommodate, I think, with COVID modifications and limits on participation. The Shore to Shore in East Islip, New York. 25K, 50K run each day, put on by Nicole and Vinny Cappadora of Happily Running. And we will get a clip in here from Vinny. Vinny, cue us into Shore to Shore.
Hey folks, this is Vinny from Happily Running here. We had an awesome event this weekend called Shore to Shore. It is a 50K and 25K that starts on the northern end of the Long Island Greenbelt Trail in Sunken Meadow Park. So if any of you have run cross country and made your way down there in high school or even college, it starts on the moat of that course, and then we run it backwards. Pops onto the Greenbelt Trail from there, and will take you all the way down about 32 miles to the end of the trail, which is on the south end and the south shore of the island at Heckscher State Park. So pretty cool things about that race. You get to hit about 5 of the Long Island parks that are out there, so you get to see them. It's about 75% trail, so there's a little bit of road, pretty much front loaded. All the elevation is front loaded. There's a little less than 1,000 feet of climb in the entire 50K, so not too bad at all. And most of it is all in the first 6 miles. There's a little bit after that, but most of it's from there, and then you just cruising the rest of the way. Definitely a way to run for sure. And then there's just some sights in there that you don't often get to see, which is pretty awesome. And then you get to see, the Long Island from a different point of view, in my opinion, which is pretty fantastic. So what we can do is go on to some of the results from yesterday, from this weekend. So winning on, so first things first is that we had when we first opened up registration, our permit was pretty limited. We could only have 50 people for the event, so we decided to open up 2 days of 50 people being able to run on Saturday and Sunday. And then a couple weeks ago, we got the approval from New York State to be able to do 200 people. So we opened it up. So there was a lot of last minute shuffle when it came to either people or folks willing to sign up. There was a significant wait list for Saturday. And then it all opened up pretty quickly. So there were some people who got in that were pretty solid. So winning the event on Saturday with 4:02 was Jesse Goodenough. Really fast dude, runs a lot of local Long Island races, trying to get him out to some other stuff and see what he can really do. Zandy Mangold at second with 4:26, and Jason Rubenstein with 4:31. And that's for the men. And then in fourth place overall was Tiffany England, rocking a 4:33. Liza O'Connor with 4:51. And then a little while after that was Helen Huang with a 4:56 for the 50K. Really great efforts from all of them. It was an absolutely beautiful day, too. So it was a great day to run. And they had, just an awesome time while they were out there. And then for the 25K on Saturday, we had Kevin Jorlin coming in at first with a 2:02, and then picking up second overall for the women first. She was 2:02.12 with Andrea Cantor. And then Sarah Gray was second overall with 2:16. Amanda Burke was 2:18. So those three ladies made up the second, third, and fourth overall, which is pretty wild. And then Bo Shoemaker and Raymond Lem came in after that, and then rounding out the men's top 1, 2, and 3. And then the first place on Sunday was, I'm going to botch this, I'm sure, Nobiura Takita, coming in at 3:56. So he was about 8 minutes faster, a little less than 8 minutes faster than Jesse was the day prior. So would love to get them both head to head, which would be pretty wild. Robert Lynn, Stephen England were both 1 minute behind each other. So Robert Lynn was at 4:02. Stephen England rocked in at 4:03. And then Nicole Unger came in at 4:22, so not too far behind everybody, and she was fifth overall. And then it took a little bit, but after that, we had Amy Page and Nicole Hopkins rounding out that second and third place. So, like I said, all in all, it was a really solid day. Then there was also something pretty awesome that happened afterwards. On Monday, unbeknownst to all of us, there was David Kilgore going out to get the FKT on that course. So that FKT has been pretty much knocked after a few times. I believe Mike Petrino was the first one to set it in a little while, and then I forget who took it after Mike Petrino, but what we got is David Kilgore is 45 seconds ahead of that. So right now he's got that FKT, which is pretty awesome. Would love to see somebody coming out and then really getting on these courses as well going forward. We also at Happily Running have another race coming up in October, which is Tesla Hertz Run, which is a 100-mile or 100K, 50-mile, 50K. Or even a 10-mile. It's a 10.5-mile loop that you get to run around for any of those distances. Really gracious cutoffs. That is, we joke around and say it's 99.9% trail because there's 2 times you got to cross a road. Other than that, it's all on trail. You feel like you're pretty isolated, which is pretty awesome, being out there in trail the entire time. The 50K for that is sold out. We cap them according to distances, so that way we don't have too many of one distance out there on the trail while the other one doesn't get to do it. So 50K is capped right now. There's a wait list on Ultra Sign Up. All the other distances are still open. So get after it, and we'll see you out there. Thanks. Have a good one.
All right, and then the Singletrack Maniac, 10K, 50K in Williamsburg, Virginia. This is one that one of my good friends and college teammates, Greg Loomis, who is looking focused. I think this was like, if I remember, well, he may mention it here, 151st ultra finish, and he's working on trying to get to 100-mile finishes. So just a beast of an endurance athlete. I kind of pick on him for being slower pretty damn slow at this point. But in terms of what he's able to accomplish in terms of endurance events, so wicked strong between the ears and can just an amazing endurance athlete. So Greg, cue us into this week's Singletrack Maniac.
Good morning. This is Greg Loomis. I'm reporting for the Trails Collective on one of Virginia's finest 50Ks, the Singletrack Maniac, which was held yesterday down in Williamsburg, Virginia. Williamsburg is known for being a little wet and swampy, but this year's race was nice and dry. The trail is a fantastic single track. It's mainly like mountain bike type of trails that have a lot of zigzagging and twisting and turning, which makes it quite fun to run. Very little hills, just little tiny rollers, but constant. So the course is quite quick. And winners this year were, for the men, near 4 hours, and for the women, just sub 5 hours. But it did get hot. The people who were towards the back, I think, suffered tremendously as it got near 80 degrees. One of our first real hot racing weekends here in Virginia. Certainly to show what's coming. But I can't say enough great things about the race. It's very well done. R.D. Allen course marks fantastically. The aid stations are ample and well stocked, and this year fantastically upbeat volunteers. Had a great time running with some friends, and was happy to go back to a race that I've been to a couple years ago. They even do nice awards, kind of like a road race where different age groups, 40 to 49, 50, 59, 60 plus, and a lot of ultras don't do that, but now that there's getting higher numbers in our races, it's nice to see some of that. And this year's award was a cool-looking growler with the race's awesome logo. If you're looking for a faster 50K that's not so mountainous, like a lot of the races that are held near the Blue Ridge Parkway or Shenandoah in Virginia, and it's quick drive up from Carolina, this race is for you. It's a great first timer, and I was able to run with some runners that were partaking in their first ultra, and it's a good one for that because lots of aid, close by aid. They even had a drop bag at 18 miles, which you hardly ever see in a 50K, but it was certainly would help somebody who's new to the sport feel more comfortable and able to conquer that. So again, Singletrack Maniac in southeastern Virginia. Give it a go next year. Always a early April favorite. Enjoy.
And the Sassquad Trail Runners put on the Squatchapple, I think was the name of it. Multiple distances running. Looked like good energy out there. Some people running some record-long distances for themselves. And to cue us into that one of my Mountain Peak Fitness Red Newt Racing teammates, the outstanding individual and athlete, Jay Lemos.
Hey guys, so this past weekend I ventured down to Jersey for one of the Sassquad trail races, all thanks to my buddy Manny Hernandez, who said, oh yeah, come down and race, I'm racing, and I can't turn down a bad idea. So this is my second event with the Sassquad trail crew, and it's really cool to see how much they've grown. The first time I did one of their events, it was probably 3, maybe 4 years ago. So they've grown a lot, and they've grown into a really, really cool group of people, and their events are just awesome. I mean, they say every trail race is a trail party, and they're they definitely keep to that. So they had, this was not Fab-Apple, Squatchapple, and they had distances from 5 to 11, 20, 33, and 50 miler. Manny and I did the 11 miler. We were both using it as a way of breaking into double digits for the first time this year. Actually, it's my first double digit run in over 2.5 months. So I was like, why not race it and try and race it fast. This took place at South Mountain Reservation in West Orange. Really cool place. It's basically where I started my trail running, and it's nice. It's technical in some spots, and then you have a carriage road. It's really cool. You can definitely open up the legs, hammer some downhill, and then burn the lungs trying to run uphill on some of the stuff. They're not long, so you can definitely make it. But yeah, Manny kicked my ass. He can go fast and just hold that speed. I tried to hold on, and then last mile and a half, he put like 2 minutes on me. But it was great. It was great. It hurt. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun being back on those trails, and the whole atmosphere. Everyone else in their own races out on the same trails. There were about 3 or 4 different loops that everyone was sharing, but there was no confusion. Everything was really well marked. Lots of big red arrows telling you where to go. It was almost impossible to get lost. Definitely recommend checking them out for events, for either tune-ups or if you want to make it your goal race. Very cool people, awesome swag. Definitely recommend them. So yeah, it was really cool to get pretty beat up in a nice short race. And I feel better now about training for real, and see what happens at Breakneck in a month. So yeah, maybe see a bunch of you guys there. Later.
All right, and then one that I am going to close out this episode with was an event down in PA, also in the wilds, hill country, mountainous region of PA, outside of Lock Haven or in Lock Haven, PA. There's the Eagleton Trail Challenge, the 10K, 25K, plus ruck version of the 25K and 50K run. And I am going to weave in clips from Tyler Eagleton on the 10K win, Erin Kennedy on the ruck win, Katie Sick on the 25K, Sarah Briggs, and hopefully if it comes in, Brian Frank on the 50K. So I will weave them all in here to close the episode. So the crew of you, thanks for all following up. And it is awesome to hear so many voices from the trails. So tune in with us this Thursday again for my TC Live session with Zach Miller and Matt Lipsy. Should be a really fun, and I'm pretty stoked about it. And until then, Eagleton Trail Challenge crew, take us out.
Hey guys, I'm happy to have a little bit of a time here to kind of chat a little bit about the Eagleton Trail Challenge and share with you a little bit of the 10K course, letting you know right off the bat that they do have a 25K option, 25K ruck race, which you don't hear about too often, as well as a 50K option. And it's right here in North Central PA, right in the heart of the Sproul State Forest with, Ty Dotton State Forest not too far away, and a lot of other great things going on here in the trail community in the Williamsport, Lock Haven area here in North Central PA. So inviting everyone to come out to all the races that are out here, but Eagleton in particular was quite a gem here for the 10K series. The race itself, 10K doesn't sound like a whole lot in the trail community, but this team there, man, Blake and his team that he has running that thing, they have a lot to offer. This course was one of the best courses I've seen in an early season race that offers a big mix of a little bit of everything for everyone. When you head out on the trail, we're starting right at the Sons of Italy camp there, just outside of Lock Haven, and heading underneath a bridge for a nice little gnarly section just to give you a little taste of what's coming up. Before you hop along the roadside, but rather than run on the roadside, which would be very boring for us in the trail community, they shoot you up onto a side trail just up off the road that has a ton of little hop and skip type rocks that we're going to be traveling through before you end up bouncing into the actual Eagleton Mine Camp State Park area there. Once you hit the park area, there's a trail system existing already there. I encourage everyone to check that out in their own time as well too, which the 25K and the 50K course take a lot more advantage of that area, but we got a fair share of it there too, running up through a little bit of a little water area, back and forth and some mild water crossings, before climbing some little bit of elevation, a couple hundred feet or so, till we got up to a pole line. Once you get on the pole line, it's a little bit of an out and back, and then the fun really begins. Once you hit that out and back, if you're going on the 25K, you're going to end up bouncing out into some of the better areas on that trail course in that area. But for the 10Kers, we found a great little speed section that takes you out into some of the really nice areas, giving you a little glimpse of what's out there. Some nice rocky technical switchback areas, some nice little downhills. before you dump in at about 3.5 miles or so into a little gully, cross a road, and then it's straight back uphill. I'm talking rope climbing before you get up over the final summit and then head your way back down to the Sons of Italy camp, to complete this race. Overall, like I said, it's a little bit of something for everyone. The race was great. Blake and his team are super energized and launching people in the different sections out throughout the morning. With us being a 10K, we're one of the last ones out, one of the first ones back, and you get to come back and enjoy the trail community in the region. Lots of support from the local volunteer fire departments helping out with traffic control, and all the sponsors throughout the area helping out make a great time, because that's what the big thing here in the trail community in North Central PA is. We all, want to be out there together, supporting each other, and even the businesses are there backing us because we're helping back them in these small communities and taking advantage of the gems that are right outside our doors. A big thank you to everyone that helps make this happen, and just a big shout out to more people out there to come out and join some more of these North Central PA races and races across the whole state and across the whole Northeast. There's a lot of gems right out here outside our doors, and it just takes more people talking about them and getting them out there in order for us to share what's going on. And if you'll notice in the backstage, here on this whole interview, that's my little trophy that I took home for my win here. Very proud of that moment. Not something typical for me, but it was a fast day for me. Nowhere near the course record. There was plenty of other fast people out there other days. But to take home a nice little trophy like that is pretty cool. Hand carved on scene by some of our local chainsaw artists, so it was really neat, as well as that cool finisher medal there hanging from the lanyard as part of our swag bag from some of the other sponsorship stuff too. So just another great shout out to the Eagleton Trail Challenge. Check it out next year. Check out any of the other races offered here in North Central PA, and hopefully I'll get to see you out there sometime here soon, enjoying all the greatness that's out there for us to offer here.
Hey, it's Katie Sick here, and I ran the Eagleton 25K, so I'm supposed to tell you how the course was laid out and how it went down. So I used to run at Eagleton all the time in college at Lock Haven, and I loved it. It was so free and full of trails and nature and Singletrack. So a couple years ago, I talked my parents into, hey, let's go do this race. It's awesome to run here. Well, talked my parents into running the trail run, and literally we ran it the opposite way a couple years ago, but you literally straight up a hill, and I'm looking back at my dad, and we were just laughing because I'm like, oh man, mom's gonna have us in the doghouse after this. But I love Eagleton. I love the trail community, the trail people. So how the course went down was basically, I knew the course, so you go, it's steep up for 2 or 3 miles, and I'm coming back from a knee injury. I dislocated it, tore some ligaments. So I was like, well, we'll just work into it. Once we get to the top Singletrack, we'll pick it up through there. It's really nice when you get on top and you can just fly and float. And then I wanted to try and do the first 13 miles strong, because then when you come back down, the last 2 or 3 miles, for lack of a better term, suck. They're hard. You got to go up a hill, and it's straight up, and it has ropes on it, and you're trying not to lacerate people by cutting their heads off by using a rope, because when you have 7 people trying to climb up the rope, it can be dangerous. But it was all fun. It was all good. And then the last 2 miles, because of my knee, I'm trying to nurse it back and get back to 100% strength. I knew the last 2 miles were rocky and downhill, so I kind of took my time on that, trying to just make it through. That's the layout of the course for me. What else am I supposed to say? What do I have coming up? I have the Sick Trail Run, which is a free event put on by my family. It's July 10th. I have the Chief Watona race by John Johnson, and they're just good people, feel good people. The trail communities feel good people. That's what I have coming up. I am getting married this summer, so that's exciting and full of adventure and planning. Like I said, I'm trying to just nurse my knee back to health. I really did a doozy on it last year, so this was my first race back. So a little swollen today, a little, tired and inflamed, but trying to maintain where it gets stronger, better, healthier, because setbacks make for comebacks. Have a good night.
Hi, I'm Erin Kennedy. I'm from Lock Haven, Pennsylvania, and I was the first female finisher in the inaugural ruck option for the Eagleton Trail Challenge in Clinton County, Pennsylvania. What is a ruck, you might ask? A ruck is just a weighted walk. So it's a walk carrying some sort of a rucksack, a type of backpack used in the military, which is where rucks were kind of initiated. They added a ruck option for the 25K distance for the Eagleton this year, which is in addition to the 25K run, a 10K run, and a 50K run. I thought I would try the ruck option just to see what it was like. It was just kind of a challenge for me. So the way that it worked is based on your body weight, you had to carry either a 10 or a 20 pound weight. So I carried a 20 pound plate in my pack. Looks like this. Very heavy. Not really all that easy to drag up a hill. But it was just an amazing challenge. It went really well. I trained for it for a few months. I essentially just, any walk that I went on, I carried weight with me. Any hike that I went on, I carried weight, and I gradually upped the weight. I didn't do anything close to 25K, which is about 15 or 16 miles, depending on the race. I didn't do anywhere near that in my training, but I managed to be able to do that during the race. I have a cool pack, kind of an official ruck pack, so it's nice because it has a sternum strap and a hip belt, which really helps kind of hold the weight on my back. But I tell you, when you're walking up a hill that has a rope to help you get up the hill, it's pretty darn heavy. So it was awesome. It's just a neat sort of new option. Maybe you're not really super into cardio, or you're looking for some kind of a new challenge. A ruck, just a ruck hike is a pretty cool option. There's also a lot of different types of ruck challenges that involve a lot of push-ups and burpees and stuff like that. But just walking around with a weighted pack feels pretty good. So I definitely recommend that everybody gives it a shot. Hopefully they'll keep the ruck option in the Eagleton Trail Challenge in years to come, and check it out. See you later.
Hi, I'm Sarah Briggs. I had the awesome opportunity to run at the Eagleton Trail Challenge 50K this past weekend down in Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. The course was awesome. It had a little bit of everything. There were some really nice rolling sections, some great downhill sections, some really technical parts throughout the race, some really challenging climbing sections. So it was a really great course overall. As far as how my day shook out, we went into it as just a solid training run for my upcoming 50 miler. So I kind of just started out slow and kind of went with the day and ran on feel, and it was just it felt really good to be out in a race setting again and kind of just run hard on those trails and have that feeling again. It's been a while for all of us, I think. As far as what I have coming up, next I have the Cayuga Trails 50 miler here at the end of May, and I'm really excited to take on a new distance, take on those trails again, and hopefully this time I don't get lost. That's been my thing, these ultras. I tend to tack on a few extra miles each time, so I'm hoping I get that all out of my system before the 50 miler here at the end of May. Thanks.